Hi guys, it's Tweedledee here. Welcome to another edition of the Complete Beginner's Guide to League of Legends. In this part of the guide I'm going to highlight the basic features of team fighting. So if you're one of those guys that always dies first in a team fight, haven't got a clue what you're doing in them, and always gets his team killed, sit down, open your ears because you're the exact type of guy that I want to smack in the face with a keyboard when I play with you. But hey, let's be friends, because I promise you after this video you'll have an idea what to do, and if you put enough practice in and keep using these points, you're going to be the exact guy that everyone wants to play with in the team fights. Okay, I promise I'm finished insulting you now, so let's crack on with this. So number one, what I want to show you is this slide here. Peeling is the first thing I want to explain. So peeling is basically, if you're CCing an enemy in order to save one of your teammates, you are basically forcing the enemy champion away from its target. So an example of this is, if you're in lane, the AD carry is attacking your AD carry, you're playing Alistair, you can headbutt that AD carry away from yours. Therefore you've just peeled the enemy AD carry from your AD carry. The second thing on this slide is CC. So CC is basically crowd control. There's two types of it. There's hard CC, which is any ability that can interrupt or stop an opponent's channeled ability. That would be, say, Fiddlestick's ultimate or Nunu's ultimate, and it can also remove control of the player's movement. So it would be a knock-up or something like that as well, or fear, or taunt, or Ari's charm. Soft CC is all other abilities that hinder opponents partially or fully in one of those two categories, or partially in both. So for instance, a silence from Sorka, or a slow from Nunu. So now that we know what peeling is, and CC, which is crowd control, we're going to move on to know who your targets are. No matter what champion or role you're playing, your main targets are the AD carry, the ability power carry, or the assassin. They are the three highest priority targets for kind of two reasons in my opinion. One, because they deal massive amounts of damage. And two, if they've built correctly, which is pretty much glass cannon, which means massive damage output but extremely squishy, then they are squishy, so they die pretty quickly when you get to them. So now that we know what the targets are, it's either the AD carry, the AP carry, or the assassin. Which one do we go for? So you're going to go for whichever one is doing the most damage. So assume you can get to that one first. So if you have, say, the AP carry is absolutely carrying the game, and he's got 12 kills, 3 deaths, whereas the AD carry is behind, it's got like 4 kills, 4 deaths, and a couple of assists. The AP carry is the one that's been nuking, and that is going to nuke your team. So you want to try and focus the AP carry first. After that, then you want to go for the AD carry. If it was the opposite way around, and the AD carry was fed, or carrying the game hard, or doing the most damage, then you would instantly focus the AD carry. Because obviously he's doing more damage, you want him dead first, he's the higher priority. So you're going to have try your best to get at these targets, as they are the main damage dealers on the enemy team, and they should be the main damage dealers on your team also. Where it can go wrong is if you've got a bad team comp and you can't actually get in near them, it makes it more difficult and very awkward to try and get to the carries without being CC'd by the tank or the bruiser or interrupted by the support, and then you're going to die anyway because you can't actually get to them, whereas they might be able to get to your carries. So just keep that point in mind when you're at champion select, and try and get a combination of players in your team that scales late game as well in terms of team fights. So moving on to know your role. So are you the AD carry or AP carry? If so, the enemy team will be focusing you. You should not initiate a fight, you should not be at the front of a fight. Now granted, an Ashe arrow ulti can go up mid and that can initiate and then your team goes in, but you're obviously not going to be playing Ashe and going in first because you will die instantly and they're going to focus you anyway. It's the same for the AP carry. Don't initiate, let your team initiate first, whether that be your bruiser or your tank, and then work from there. And don't forget who your targets are, the AD carry, the AP carry, or the assassin. Don't get distracted or sidetracked. Don't walk off into the jungle in order to farm a few creeps as your team is setting up for a team fight. Or don't go farming minions in the lane if your team fight's going to be in the jungle. You know, just don't get sidetracked or distracted by silly things. And just the last point on this is to consider beforehand how can you reach the carries. So is that going to be by an Amumu who's going to wrap in and hit his ult, therefore you can get into the carries? Or do you have to flash to get into the carries? Are you playing an assassin that can burst into the carries? You'll have to consider beforehand how you're actually going to reach the carries. Moving on, you need to focus correctly. Do not, for the love of all that's holy and great in this world, focus the tanks in the team fight. Now your bruiser or support might have to peel that tank away from your team, which is fine, but don't have the whole team focus this tank. The reason he is there is because he can soak up that damage, and he wants to bait you into using all your CC, all that ability power, all that attack damage on him. So therefore his team can mop you up from the back. You see it done all the time. Always see the people focusing tanks, in normal games especially. You don't really see it in ranked as much, but in normal games, even up to say 500 or 600 normal wins, you still see people focus tanks in team fights. The next point I want to make is take a deep breath and don't panic. Don't make silly mistakes. Don't fail flash into fights that you don't need to flash into, or fail flash out over the wall. And don't miss abilities or cast ability on a minion or something like that, or stuns a minion, or you silence the wrong person because it's all in the middle of a big team fight. Take your time, don't panic, and try not to make them silly mistakes. They all add up as to who wins this fight. And if it's late game, this can actually be a game changer. You can win or lose the game just by one failed spell maybe. Next point I have here is peel a tank from your carry if needed. I've already covered that slightly. So if needed, peel a tank or the bruiser away from your carry. But again, don't focus that person. Focus the AD carry, the AP carry, or the assassin. So this next point here is to ping on and have your entire team focused to one target. So let's say for instance we're going to focus Caitlyn in a team fight. The initiator should ping on who he's going to attack and then go for it, and the whole team will know then exactly who they want to focus. What this achieves is consistent damage. So everyone focuses and kills the one person basically, as opposed to if no one has pinged anything or everyone just picks their own target, you might get 5 of the enemy champions down to half health, then all of a sudden your combos are gone, all your damage is gone, you lose the fight basically because all your damage was spread out too much amongst the enemy team. The next point I want to make here is to move from targets highest priority to least, ending with the tank. So you want to move from say the AD carry to the AP carry, then to the bruiser, the support, the tank. Kind of in that order. It changes slightly, but you get the idea what I mean. Don't basically jump in and start on the tank / the bruiser. Don't go focusing the support while the AD carry and the AP carry are stripping your team. You know, use your common sense. It does change slightly, but more or less it stays the same. AP carry, AD carry, assassin, or the bruiser after that, support, tank, give or take. And please don't split up from your team to chase low health point enemies. The amount of times you see that in team fights, where one of the enemy champions is almost dead, they'll have to go on recall, but one of your teammates goes chasing that guy across the map and splits up, and there's one of your damage dealers gone, and he likely gets caught then by himself because one of the other enemy team goes and chases him anyway, and it just makes things messy. So don't split up from team fights to chase low health point enemies. So one last point I want to make, and it's very important. I haven't put it on this image, which I actually should have done, but make use of team fights. If you've just won a team fight, be sure to take an objective for it. Either take a tower or an inhibitor if you can, or go take Drake if you can. Baron is probably out of the equation at this point. You more than likely have too little health to go and do it. But who knows, it's late game. You might have enough lifesteal to get that. You might have enough in your tank to go and tank Baron. Who knows, but just make sure after a team fight, don't just stay in the lane that you're at and farm creeps and stuff. Be sure to take an objective of it. Be it Drake, Baron, inhibitor, or tower. If your team was actually able to take an objective after winning a team fight, and they didn't, that is completely unacceptable, and I'm sorry, but you pretty much deserve to lose if that's the way your team's going to play. So you've got to start thinking of these things, and hopefully everyone starts to play like that on your team too, so you maximise on whatever little achievements you make in-game. So now we're moving on to positioning. Get your positioning right. As the AD carry, you should be almost at the very back, and attack the most highest priority target, be it the APC, the assassin, or the AD carry, without being killable yourself. That's the ideal, but almost impossible to achieve position you want to find. Don't attack just the closest target because he's close to you. That's usually the tank or the bruiser. You don't really want to be focusing them. Remember, the AP carry, the assassin, or the AD carry are the ones that are going to do the most damage, especially to you because you're going to be so squishy. So be sure it's the highest priority targets that you're trying to kill. Seek protection from the tank and support. So don't go too far from your tank and support, so at least they're able to give you some sort of protection anyway. Be this by peeling for you, CC for you, or by simply healing you. As the APC, try to nuke the enemy squishies with your combo. By that what I mean is using your ultimate and all your abilities on the squishy champions, and again focus by priority. Do not use your nuke combo on the enemy tank or bruiser. Just because he's in your face and trying to get at you, don't use all of what you've got on him, because when it comes to actually fighting in the team fight, deep into it, you will have nothing left. So be sure to have enough mana for the fight. You are a carry after all. So often you see the AP carry arrives for a team fight but has no mana, and instead of like backing off from the fight, which team should have done the fight anyway, and the AP carry had no mana and can't do anything useless in the fight, or does one combo and runs off. End of story. That's not good enough. Seek protection from the tank and support also, for the reasons I gave above for the ADC. The assassin is pretty much like the APC, but what you gotta do is you have to wait for all the enemy CC to be used before you attack your target. So once all that CC is gone, then you go in. You only attack one target until it is dead before moving on to the next. So don't split your damage between two carries. Be sure to kill either the AD carry first and then go for the AP carry, or kill the AP carry first and then go for the AD carry, vice versa. Whichever one is most fed, whichever one is higher priority. Assassins generally can get into the thick of it, assassinate their target and then get out by some form of stealth or ability. Keep that in mind and try to give yourself an exit so you can get back. So at least you've taken out a carry, but you don't want to die yourself, or it's kind of wasted too, because if you die, it's 4v4 at this stage. So consider like Shaco has his Q to stealth out. Akali can use her Shroud to hide in the darkness, and then she can flash out or use another ult again. Talon can go invisible and walk out. I don't know if Wukong is considered an assassin, but even Wukong can go invisible and walk out as well. So just keep that in mind and keep yourself an exit. So the bruiser, the tank, or the off tank. You may or may not be the initiator, depending on the team comp. What you want to do is deal maximum damage to the highest priority enemy. At the same time, you'll want to absorb damage for your team. So you're basically a melee bruiser that gets in, gets things done. You're tanky enough to take damage. You're also damaging enough to give damage to the team. You may need to peel for your allies, or you may need to dive for enemy priority targets. For instance, if you were Lee Sin, you might dive in, Q the enemy AD carry, and then kick it out with your ultimate back into your team. That's an example of where you will be diving the enemy to get priority targets. I'm just going to briefly cover the supports. So you've got two types of supports, an aggressive one and a passive one. So the aggressive support would be ideal, would be like Leona, Taric and Thresh. They can initiate fights. They're tanky enough to go and do that. They can soak up damage if they're tanky enough. They should protect your highest priority carries at all time. They can also peel enemies for your carries if needed. Then you've got the passive supports. The passive supports such as Soraka, Sona, Janna, Lulu or Karma. They should stay with or very close to the AD carry or AP carry. Now they shouldn't let a bruiser die, for instance. If a bruiser's in there and he's doing his thing and he's about to die, of course shield him, of course heal him, of course CC the enemy for him. But generally they want to be keeping the AD carry and the AP carry alive. They can CC the enemy and they can use the heal, the shield, the buffs on high priority allies or enemies. So I've assembled a few clips that I want to show you here now, and the first one is Teamfight Clip 1. It's not really ideal to be teamfighting under a turret, but however, it happens sometimes in games. Probably shouldn't do, but whatever. So in this one, Fiddles initiates with his ultimate over the wall in order to kill the AP carry, which was Syndra. So she was carrying hard at that time. She was something like 9 kills, 2 deaths or something like that. So of course she was a priority target. Notice then how Nami hits Fiddlesticks with a hard CC with a bubble that knocks him in the air, and what interrupted the drain on the AP carry. So Tristana then, which is the AD carry, she jumped in and kills the AP carry, which is good. So she killed Syndra. Akali attacks the tanky jungler, which was Nocturne, which was a bad idea because she wouldn't be able to assassinate him, and he didn't die to her assassination attempt. So Nocturne ultimates back in, but Thresh and Fiddlesticks then peel him back off of Tristana. He then dies to Akali. At this point is when we should have left, but we didn't. We should have took Dragon and killed Jinx bot lane. As you can see her on the map, she was down bot lane by herself. We could have done that and took Drake, but as a team we stupidly went back in and we died. So the second clip, Teamfight Clip 2, if you take a look at Thresh took a Mad Notion and he initiated on the fed AP carry, which was Syndra. So it's the same game. Syndra was fed, Thresh took a Mad Notion, on he went. So Fiddlesticks instantly reacted to this and he ultimated over the wall. The target was Syndra, who was the AP carry. She was fed, she had a lot of kills. Syndra is Zonyed, so that meant you can't do any damage to her. So Fiddles instantly targets the AD carry instead, which was Jinx, and gets the kill. Notice the poor focus from Tristana and Mundo from here. They focused for Renekton. He's a tanky bruiser, he had his ultimate on, he wasn't going to die. I was actually pinging Nami instead, which was a mistake too. I should have been pinging to hit Syndra, who was a bit higher up the lane, but they would have struggled to get to her anyway. But they kept trying to kill the Renekton. In this third clip, Jinx was out of position, so Thresh and Fiddlesticks took advantage of it. her team were actually closer than we realised, so we couldn't secure the kill on her. Nami then peels Fiddlestick's drain off her. If you notice with Nami's ultimate, she peeled me off from the drain. So Nocturne target Fiddles then, the priority target at this point. So there was no point in Nocturne targeting Thresh because I'm the one doing the damage. So Fiddlestick CC's Nocturne so that Jinx can be killed without interruption. So Nocturne does a lot of damage and was tanky. So I hit him with a fear, so he was CC'd while we could secure the kill on Jinx. Notice how Renekton now initiates. He comes up into our team. So that just shows you how the Bruiser and how it initiates. But Syndra keeps a safe distance. That was a mistake from her. She should have been in there doing more damage. I don't know, I can't remember if she'd used it all or not at this point, but she should have been there doing more damage, but she wasn't. But everyone focused Renekton and they actually shredded him because Syndra was too far out of combat to make a difference. He died. The focus then switched between Nami and Syndra. It should have been Syndra only, but it was kind of between the two of them, and then Thresh basically took the game by the balls, got a hold of Syndra, she died, Nami died, GG. So that's it for another episode of the Complete Beginner's Guide for League of Legends. Listen, I hope you've learned a little bit more about team fights and you might be able to actually contribute a bit better in your next ones. But just keep in mind that it's practice, 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 practice. That's how you'll get better. Consider playing some Dominion or ARAM if you want to get better at team fights, as it brings 5v5 in a map all the time. If you like what you've seen or you've learned anything in any shape or form, please hit the like button on this video, and if you want to keep in touch with more videos that I release, please hit subscribe. Thank you very much for watching, bye for now, and I'll see you again.